we're sitting in a rather beautiful Land Rover Discovery. We'll be careful because online we're probably the two most dangerous people to the EV industry between the two of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Barry. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Barry Crampton, been in the motor trade for 50 years. I have nothing at all against EVs. I have to say that right from the start. Nothing at all.
You drive an EV. I've seen your EV.
Yeah, I drive. I've got two EVs. I've just sold my I-Pace, but I have a Citroen Ami, which I absolutely love. It's perfect for me, just going backwards and forwards to work. Absolutely perfect. The only thing that I don't like about EVs is the damage and the lies surrounding them. You see on the internet, and you see all the EV shills saying that misinformation, and they want to educate you, but most of the misinformation is coming from them, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I guess I first discovered you via Twitter and your work that you've been doing to just highlight what's been going on with EVs in general.
Yeah.
Bits of stuff that's going on in AutoTrader, bits of stuff that's going on with depreciation, MOTs. You're like your very own EV mythbuster.
That's basically what I'm trying to do.
Difficult to know where to start with it, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You have done a little bit of everything.
Right. Somebody sent me, I was having a bit of a discussion with them. It was basically about brake discs and the longevity of them.
Oh, because with the electric car, the brake discs last for 100,000 miles.
That's it, except they don't. They last for 100,000 miles on a car that you're going to do 100,000 miles quickly, like up and down the motorway, and you do have to brake. Round town, you've got no chance. You've absolutely no chance. I've seen vehicles with 5, 6, 7,000 miles on with warnings, and I've also seen them rusty, corroded, grooved. You know, I mean, it's your brakes.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that you need to rely on, really. But this chap here, I genuinely think you need some help. Your whole attitude is odd. Remember, nobody came to you with these articles and tweets. You jumped on them. Why is that? Right. So this chap thinks I should mind my own business.
Yeah.
When I first started in the motor trade, I started cleaning cars. That was my job, and I used to do odd jobs in the garage. And there was a girl I quite fancied, and her friend had bought a car which had failed the MOT. So as a favour, she asked me if I'd do the work on it. We got it in the garage, it needed some welding. Got it up on the ramp, go to weld it, and the inner sills were made of tin foil and filler.
Yeah.
So you go to weld it, and of course and then we started pulling away, and the car was just rotten. Now, when she came, I rang her and said, look, you know, there's nothing we can do. Absolutely nothing. It costs a fortune. When she came to pick the car up, I told her, and she was absolutely hysterical. I've never ever seen anybody cry like that.
Yeah.
And the reason was, she worked in the bank during the day. She had a part-time job at night in a pub. She had to get a bus home, get changed, bus to work, so she bought a car. She borrowed the money from the bank. Her mother had cancer. Her mother was having cancer treatment, and basically she was keeping the house going with her 2 jobs. She'd now bought a car that she was having to make payments on, and it was no good.
Yeah.
And before that, I was going to be, you know, I was going to be a salesman. I was going to make a fortune. That was my whole goal. And from that moment, that's the moment that changed me. I thought, I will never ever do that. I don't think I have done since. I don't think I've, I don't think I've ripped anybody off. I've certainly tried not to. And the whole thing is, a deal's a mutually beneficial agreement between 2 parties.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's how I've tried to work my whole life. At the moment, people who are selling EVs and pushing them, it's not a mutually beneficial deal. They're benefiting from it. The customers, especially if you're private, no. It's going to collapse the motor trade, in my opinion. I did warn of this in...
You were tweeting about this 2 years ago, saying there's going to be a crash in values.
And
it's now happening.
Yeah. And if you see in the motor trade press, the experts warned of it, I think, about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So
let's just have a look at where we're at now then in terms of the EV market, right? So I've looked today, there's 20,000 EVs for sale right now on AutoTrader. The bulk of those EVs are going to be, because we know that businesses were incentivized to buy EVs.
Absolutely.
And we don't think that many private buyers are walking in and buying EVs. But Motability is pushing people towards EVs in a big way, and I think that is an accident waiting to happen as well. So the cars that we've got for sale right now on AutoTrader, we've already got 20,000 EVs. They're cars that are coming off fleet, and we're currently waiting for the current fleet of EVs to come off lease and go into the sales market. The buyers just aren't there.
No.
So what is going on? We've got 1-year-old EVs that are now appearing and are popping up for sale with 11 miles on the clock.
Yeah.
So where's the car been? It was registered this time last year. That's happening. We've got brand new stuff that is obviously being registered.
Well, there's cars registered this morning and for sale this afternoon, 74 plates.
So 74 plate car, just registered, brand new, but now it's registered as used and it's already on as a discount.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, there's no buyers for those cars.
No. There's 22 plate VWs, 11 miles on. They're just appearing.
Well, those are the ones that, I mean,
and they're from December.
Yeah.
December 2022. Now that's when, if you remember, it all started, or most of the hype started. Just in December, the easiest month of the year to get a percentage increase.
Yeah.
Because nobody in their right mind would register a car in December.
Yeah.
You know, again, in the old days, that'd be £1,000 difference, and that's in the old days when cars would only be worth, you know, be 10 grand or something.
Yeah.
Not 40.
So right now this morning we've got 73 reg VW ID4, 1, 2, 3 of them with the 52 kilowatt, and then we've got one with the 77 kilowatt. So these are all 73 reg. So they were registered a year ago, just popped up for sale. I think you found these yesterday. 18 miles, 22 miles, 31 miles, and 11 miles, and they're 25 grand for the 52 kilowatt, 29 grand for the 77 kilowatt. Again, where's the cars been?
Right.
And where's the buyers?
If you look at the registration numbers, there are some of them, they turn up at all different garages, like the EQCs last year. Within days, they turned up all over the UK. There's cars in Scotland, cars in Ireland, and the UK, and all the registrations are consecutive.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, and they're still coming out now.
They are.
September 2023 they were registered. Delivery mileage Mercedes EQC still becoming available to this day. Where have they been? They're all the same miles, so they've not been bought, they've not been driven up to the dealers in Scotland and sold. They're delivered on transporters. The only conclusion I can come to is that the manufacturers are doing it, the manufacturers are registering them en masse, and then hiding them. And I think they were doing this when there was supposed to be a shortage, because they thought they could reintroduce them. They thought they could create a fear of missing out and get, you know, Joe Private, if you don't get an EV, you're behind and you're uneducated, you're whatever. And I think that's how they planned on getting EVs introduced into the market. Instead of doing it properly, selling them on the features and benefits, instead of doing it that way, they tried to create this: if you don't have an EV, there's something wrong with you.
Hold the stock back, create demand and drive prices. But what's happened is the opposite. Now we have a glut of supply and little to no demand in the private sector.
You can basically buy a brand new 12-month-old car, a brand new 2-year-old car, and in some cases, brand new 3-year-old car with delivery miles. I mean, that's never happened. I've had several discussions with different people in the motor trade. Oh, we always pre-register in the motor trade. I know, I've been in it 50 years. I've pre-registered plenty myself, but not on this scale. I've never ever been able to ring the manufacturer up and say, I want to buy 20 used 12-month-old cars. It's just not. Never happened. And now you can. And if you're big enough, say like perhaps Arnold Clark, and I have to be careful naming names, because you know these days.
I completely agree. But we're not talking about anything that you can't find yourself on AutoTrader.
Absolutely. If somebody like Arnold Clark they can they can control values.
Yes.
If they buy them all and then put them up at a price, the first thing I'll do is, if I get the same car, the first thing I do is go on AutoTrader. How much can I sell it for? Or
just explain that a sec then. Basically, AutoTrader, if you don't know, is the main car sales website in the UK. And if let's say we came up with our very own car, it would be, the Geoff and Barry special. You'd go on AutoTrader and you'd sort by make and you'd click the Geoff and Barry special. Now, if we had 10 cars at £10,000 each, then AutoTrader would tell us that the average sale price for that car was £10,000.
Yeah.
Now, if we wanted to drive the market of our cars, what we could do is we could list one car for, say, £200,000, and that would raise the average price, which means from a consumer point of view, when you go on the website, it tells you, there's a dial system that tells you whether that price is good or bad or average or high or low. So that's the way that you can manipulate the market in the back end by the way you price your stock. Sorry.
Now, I've asked this question because there's one firm in particular who they advertise demonstrator, not for sale.
Yeah.
And they'll have some cars that are for sale, so they have 10 cars that are for sale, and then they'll put one at a stupid price. But you don't even have to advertise it because it costs you money to advertise. In AutoTrader, you can have a profile. You can list as many cars as you want on that profile.
This is like the back end of the trade side. Yeah.
So it's the back end. You can list as many as you want on there, and they seem to be taken into account. So you go onto certain websites and they'll list 10 cars. There was Nissan Arias last year, and they were £20,000 over retail.
Right.
So, but then when you look, they've got one for sale. Now, as far as working the system, there was a couple of VWs, and I think one was at £77,000. And me and you have communicated for 12 months, haven't we?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Back and forth with these various things that are going on.
And it just seemed to me like people are trying to manipulate price. There's one at the moment, they're advertising 8 MGs every single day and then knocking them off. They've done it every day for the last week. Not particularly high price, but they did have one that is actually for sale, but they've not knocked that on.
Yeah.
That's got pictures. The others, no pictures, just a kind of a placeholder. And every single day they advertise them. Now, let me tell you, advertising, it's not easy. For 8 different cars, you've got to put the reg in, the mileage, the picture and so on, upload it, and then knock it off. Now, if you knock it off, I'm assuming they're reporting it sold. Because if you don't, because there's a little box, advertise or not, all you have to do is just click the tick, but it remains in your profile, and then I can see if it's still there on dealer portal. If it's gone completely, then I'm assuming it's been reported sold. I have asked this question in the past, specifically asked the question. Nobody's ever answered me. So again, it's something I can't say definitely, but I can't see any other reason for people doing it.
Yeah.
You know, why would you knock it off every day? What's the reason? Why would you knock it off?
Yeah.
Once you've done the work, I mean, by definition, salespeople are lazy. You do it, leave it on. I mean, some of these adverts, they've been on for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you go into the description and it says, must be registered by March 2023 or something. And of course, we're at September 2024. They can't even be bothered changing the description.
So we've got dealers gaming the pricing system, and then there's the other issue, which is time and time again you're finding it was Mini Coopers going on, petrol 1.6 Mini Coopers that were being listed as electric. Which again makes no sense.
But also these electrics being listed as petrols now.
Yeah. Came
across one of those the other day, and you've got people putting it's a 2024 car, but they change it to 2022. So if you're looking for an oldest, it's a way of manipulating the search.
Yeah.
So whatever you can do, I mean, sometimes people search from high to low. So if you put it 100 grand, they find yours first.
Yeah.
A lot more, even more, are not putting the mileage in on second-hand cars, on second-hand EVs, and you look at it, sometimes you pull the MOT up and you'll see it's done 20,000 miles. You've not put the mileage in, but then they don't get a price banner, and it appears at the top of the search. There's all sorts of really, really dirty tricks, and I mean, honestly, through the years, I've worked with some great people, and I've worked with some people who take the easy way all the time. If there's an easy way, they'd rather do it. And the EV sellers, I really, really despair, because they're just bringing the whole industry down.
Do you think that there's an element of that this is inevitable because we're in a situation where there's a huge glut of stock and not enough buyers and they've got to do something? Or do we feel like AutoTrader should be doing more to stop this, or are they in on it? What's going on there?
We've been putting this conversation off for the last, probably since before Christmas last year. And the reason I've been putting it off is I'm 66. I could retire tomorrow if I wanted. I don't want to. I love the motor trade.
Yeah.
I have had some fantastic times in the motor trade. I've loved it all the time. We can't manage without AutoTrader. We couldn't manage without AutoTrader. If I was to upset them and they, cut us off, 12 months ago, 2 years ago, then the business would finish. But over the last 2 years, 95% of their adverts are ICE vehicles, diesels, petrols and so on. But all they seem to be doing is promoting electric cars. It's everything. I keep getting emails. You're searching it, electric car, next minute you get an email. They're telling us the webinars. I mean, I've had so many friends at AutoTrader over the years, real good friends that you could ring up, talk to. Our zone manager that we used to have, she was fantastic, help you with anything. But honestly, I just feel that they've lost the way, and I wonder why they've lost the way. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's worrying to me, because I feel they've completely lost the way. All these adverts that are coming on, nobody's taking any notice of them. I keep sending them adverts. Why is there a Skoda Enyaq at £80,000 that says not for sale, when clearly it's £30,000 over what it should be anyway, and it's not for sale?
So, speaking, so how many cars are on your lot? 30 cars, something like that?
About 30 cars at the moment, yeah.
So you're not getting any support or help from AutoTrader on issues that you're raising?
They used to be. The whole dealer portal, I was involved in that right from the beginning. In fact, I would go as far as to say it was my idea. I contacted them and said, I've got an idea that will make, cars, sales managers' lives easier.
Yeah.
And we've kind of, they used to send people out, and they used to ring me up and say, what do you think about this? And honestly, I've got a lot of time for them, but I can't see, I don't understand their agenda now. I just really, I can't see why. Why do you not check your adverts? Why when I tell you something? I mean, the Skodas, I contacted them, I rang them up, then somebody rang me and said, what's the problem? And I told them, and he oh yeah, right, okay. And there were several other issues that I brought to light. Yeah, okay, right, well, I'll get back to you. And he didn't get back to me, so I got back to him. And he said, we've rung the dealer and they want it at that price. So I said, right. Okay, why do they want it at that price? I don't know. Right, well, it's not for sale. Why is it on AutoTrader? And that was it. And he said he'd get back to me. In fact, I can show you the messages. I've still got the messages, and never come back to me. And they used to actually answer me, but now obviously I think they've just given up.
Yeah. So from a car sales point of view, then, what happens next? We've got all these EVs coming off lease, going into the private market, not finding buyers, going to auction. Someone told me the other day that they went to their local trade auction, and when an EV comes through, there's an audible laugh in the hall, and then it doesn't sell. But what do we do? What do we do with that? If the government are pushing this direction, what's it going to do to the car sales market.
The thing that's very, very worrying, we don't know how many are still out there. We don't know how many 22 plates are out there. We don't know how many 23 plates are out there. 73 plates.
It's a scary thing.
And they say, like, honestly, it's because I can see it. Sooner or later, when these cars come onto the market, if they're going to run out of money, somebody's going to run out of money.
Yeah.
The dealers, there's lots of dealers reporting profit warnings. And you go into it and you look why, and the difficult trading conditions. What are the difficult trading conditions? Well, the difficult trading conditions are all your money is used up with used EV stock, demonstrators, and the ones that you have to register to hit your targets. If you don't hit your targets, you don't get your bonus. And honestly, garages these days, I started work at, for not very long, at a Ford main dealer. And I'd always been used to making money on pretty much everything. And I had to go to a sales manager's meeting, and they said, we're budgeting to lose £30 a car on Ford Fiestas. And because I was eager, and so lose £30? Yeah, lose £30. And I thought, you know, that's insane.
Yeah.
Lose £30. And of course, you get your back end bonus. They've lost £30 there, but say they get £200 for each registration, so they've made 170. But also at that very same meeting at the end, after I'd just got the job, they said to me, if a used car is here after 90 days, you won't be. That was it.
Wow.
Right. So now, it was a few weeks ago, I looked at the same group and I looked at their EVs. There's some been there a year.
Yeah.
You know, so all that's gone out the window. All that, after 90 days, you're off. They wouldn't have any staff. They wouldn't have a sales manager. Every one of them would have gone.
Well, this is the bit that I don't get, and I'm trying to do the maths in my head, right? Let's say you've got 10 EVs that have just come off lease, and they go into the second-hand market, and you put them up for sale, and eight of them don't sell, right? Then the next year, another 10 come off lease. You've still got the 8 from the previous year. You've now got 18 EVs, and maybe 2 will sell. Yeah. Then you've got 16 EVs left, and this happens year on year on year. Like something has to break, doesn't it?
Right.
Because there's too many cars.
Or you've got all the shills and the.
we know who they are. They know who they are. Everybody knows their names, and they are pushing a narrative.
Yes.
And pushing an agenda, but you can't force second-hand buyers to buy an EV. That's the problem they're struggling with.
At this moment in time, they're saying that new EVs are up, sales are up, new to 12 months old. So if you have a look at them, they register a new EV and then sell it as used. So within a month, or if how I'd work it, if I had a customer on a new EV, I would pre-register it, sell it them as a used, so I've got 2 units straight away.
Yeah, you've sold a new one and you've sold a used one.
Straight away, so you've got two units, one on each target. That's how I do it. But for every one of those, they're having to pre-register a car and then sell it off, and it's probably up to 40% discount.
Yeah.
You don't make 40% on a car. You know, they tried to cut it down and down and down, and eventually it was about 10%. Last time I was in the new job, you can't sell a car. You can't make 10% and knock 40% off. It's just
it doesn't work. Yeah.
But then, when you sell it as a used at 40%, what you've actually done is taken a customer that would have bought a used car, perhaps even a nice car, and you'd have made profit. So you've given a car away. You've, what we call it in trade, burning the customer.
Yeah.
That's it. That customer's gone, really, out of the market for probably 3 years. Should be out for 3 years. So that's how the 12-month-old ones are going. Now the 3 to 5 year olds, they say 138%. Now you look, and all these surveys, 90%. 90%. At one time, the first survey was 99% of EV owners won't go back to an ICE. 99%. Then it's come down a little bit. Fully charged show, I think it is. 93% their survey. I think it was 8,000 people. You go on any trade website any day and you will see that there's people swapping EVs in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I've put some on today, 7 days. Now,
Yeah.
those 7-day ones, they're salesmen working from home. They can't be anything else. They're not speculators. We did have speculators a couple of years ago. They were buying EVs. All your mates that have been ringing, oh, hey, I've got an EV coming. Do you want to buy this? You can put it on AutoTrader and make a grand. That will have happened.
That was a short window though, wasn't it? When
It was.
I remember this story of someone that had got a VW ID3 when they first came out, and dealer phoned him I think 3 months later and said, we'd like to buy it back. Offered him either book price or just above. He said, no thanks, I'll hold out. Waited 3 months, phoned them back to say, oh, I'd actually quite like to sell this ID3
Absolutely.
now. Yeah, we'll give you 20 grand.
Yeah.
Because it bottomed out.
But that's happened with the ID buzzes. I mean, I love them. I really do. I'd
We
have
both
one.
agree on this.
Yeah,
I love the ID buzz.
Absolutely love it.
2-year waiting list to get one in, yellow and white.
Yeah. But now, when there was a 2-year waiting list, they're coming for sale on the market with delivery miles.
Yeah.
And you've got, again, the same firm, demonstrator not for sale. They've got 7 of these demonstrators not for sale. Well, all right, if you've got a demonstrator not, just advertise one of them. Why are you doing 7?
Yeah.
Well, but again, they're at a higher price.
Yeah. Because again, the ID buzz, if there was a 2-year wait list to get one in two-tone, why aren't all of the used ones being snapped up, and why isn't that driving the price up? But that's not happening.
No, but back to these trade sites, as I say, 24 plates. But even worse, when you drill down, I mean, how I found out, there's one of the EV shills, who for some reason I never took to. I used to watch Top Gear and I never took to him. I don't like him. The first thing they tell you in car sales is, you know, don't prejudge, don't stereotype. I look at this guy and I think, I wouldn't trust you as far as I could throw you.
Yeah.
And that's it. And he called a friend of yours, which is when I first started looking.
Yeah, started throwing some insults around and
nut job and all that.
That was it.
And when I looked what he'd said, I thought, well, you know, you're misleading people. That's terrible. So what happened? I started looking at MOTs, EV MOTs. You probably think I got too much time on my hands. Well, I have. You know, I wait for customers, or when I'm editing, waiting for a film to.
It's
dead easy, you know. So I'm sat there in front of the computer.
But also, you're a car guy,
Absolutely,
and you're interested.
I need to know.
And that's the thing. We love these cars.
So on the trade sites, that's not unusual for an EV with 100,000 miles on to still have the same discs and pads.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it is. I'd say it's very unusual. His tyres, he'd done 40,000 miles. His last MOT, he had ply cords sticking through. Now, is that somebody you want to be talking to a select committee, advising a select committee? Is that someone who drives around with bald tyres?
just to clarify, you sent me that the other day, and I thought, no way. There's no way that this well-known motoring journalist car has gone for an MOT and it's failed because the ply cords are exposed on the tyres. Yeah. Sure enough, that's exactly what it was.
But even then, you know, his other car has a warning or an advisory on brake discs. Brake discs, 100,000 miles, tyres do 40,000 miles. And then you've got somebody else commenting. That's the reason they've got, you know, EVs have low MU tyres. So then I start, on these trade websites, they do a close-up of the alloys. So I start looking at the alloys, you can see the brake discs. And the brake discs are horrendous. You know, I mean, it's just unsafe. And that's regen for you. And in my mind, I'm no genius, as you probably gathered, but in my mind, regen, you don't use your brakes corrode. When you do need them, they don't work. And I know this for a fact because it happened to me when I got the I-Pace the other week. There's a school crossing just there, miles away from the car in front, school crossing, the lady come across the road, car in front of me started slowing down. First time I'd driven the I-Pace on my way home, put my foot on the brake, and I'm thinking, it's not going to stop. And I switched the regen off, started using the brakes, cleaned the disc up, and it was perfect from then on. But what's the difference between coasting, just taking your foot off the brake, not using any electric, or taking your foot off the brake, car braking, and it harvesting it?
I didn't like it in the test
You know,
when I
I
drove
can't
with it.
see.
Yeah.
I would rather pay a little bit more for electricity and be able to stop and not kill somebody or smash my car up than all this, oh, my car's got regen, it doesn't use brake pads. And then I got into another discussion with a mechanic the other week. So he's saying one thing. Well, I know for a fact because I had a business idea. I looked, I saw a tweet from this person, and they said they repair EV batteries. Now that's the main cost in a car. It's a cost where sooner or later it will get to a stage that it's uneconomic to repair.
Yeah.
If the battery goes, and you throw the rest of the car away for the battery, for the drivetrain. Now, daft as this may sound, we went through this a few years ago when dual mass flywheels came out.
Yeah, £2.5 to do a clutch.
So a Vectra would get to a certain point, and it wasn't worth repairing. A fantastic car.
Yep.
It wasn't worth repairing.
Yep.
So I thought, right, they put this kind of glib tweet, you know, battery, a cell's gone in a new battery, what do you do? Easy, we pop a new one in. I thought, great. Then I thought to myself, well, if these EV batteries, if they mess about with them, if you get seawater in or anything like that, they go up, you know. So I just sent a simple tweet, how do you test the integrity of the battery? Meaning, and I thought, well, they'll do a smoke test, because there's all sorts of vehicles that have been written off, EVs written off, low mileage on, probably because of the battery integrity, because they can't say for sure whether it's been affected. So I thought, if they test them, they must do a smoke test or whatever. Good business idea. Anyway, I didn't like the way she replied to me, and it got a bit tense.
There's a certain attitude that seems to go along with the pro EV people.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. It's very cult-like. It's very defensive.
Yeah.
And they've obviously got all the right answers and are on the right side of history.
Yeah.
But what they never ever fail to take into consideration is people on a budget, people that can't charge at home, because those people for EV ownership are knackered.
Yeah.
If you cannot have a charger at your house and your budget is £3,000, you're not having an EV.
Yeah. Well, I try to be nice. I don't, to be honest, I don't succeed a whole lot because
you follow Barry on Twitter.
It's the same thing. You know, you're old. I am old, but I was young. You're stupid. You're uneducated. You're a FUD. Listen, I'm at the front of technology. I've got everything. I love gadgets. So I have everything. So they couldn't be wrong. You're an EV hater. I'm not an EV hater. I sell cars. It don't matter. I sell diesels and petrols, and as we were discussing before, LPGs.
I want to tell that story because you're a solution finder, aren't you? Basically,
that's well. If you have a car, when I was a sales manager, I used to say, because everybody comes up with an excuse. We've got to sell this V-Class. We've got to sell this. Or he won't buy it because. Right. Well, let's go through all the he won't buy it because. And what you've got left, he's going to buy that car.
Yeah.
So that's it. If you get rid of everything, every negative, it's got to work. Honestly, we had a absolute glut of cars that we couldn't get rid of. And there's a thing in the motor trade called create your own shortage. That's what EVs are doing now. I was doing it 20 years ago. And we went from being overstocked, having too many cars, to me having to ring our Zoni up and ask for more cars. And it was one letter, create your own shortage. Next year, we envisage a big jump in sales, but we've only got a little increase in allocation. This weekend, come in, let's discuss. If you're looking for a new car next year, or you think you're looking for a new car, come in, have a word with us. And over the weekend, we went from having a compound full of cars to having sold them all, because again, it's the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So I hold my hands up, and I always tell the story. Marty Pello. I mean, it's not a car story, but love is all round. was at the top of the charts for about 16 weeks, and they thought it was going to be. And Marty Pello come out and said, "Oh, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing it on the radio, so I'm going to withdraw sales." And of course, creating the shortage, so everybody rushes out, buys the record because they think they're going to miss out. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, that's a pretty good technique. I can use that in cars. And it's just a personal letter. I had to learn how to word. I had to learn how to word, mail merge, and send customers.
You wrote a letter to your customers.
Yeah.
In those days, that was like a big deal. Now you get an email from a dealer every 5 minutes, but back then it meant something. And tell me about what happened when you had too many Jeep Cherokees that you couldn't sell because of the fuel economy.
Everybody wanted automatics, but the only.
Why did everybody want automatic Cherokees?
Because just so much better. Automatics just easier. Yeah. But you could only get diesels in the 2.5.
What year are we talking? Like
this was 1999.
99.
And I'd only started there. I was offered 2 jobs on the same day, and I took this one first, and I actually loved it. And the people were nice. The people that owned it were nice. We'd got a problem. We'd got these Jeep Cherokee 4-litre automatics, which we couldn't sell. So I got there. There was few cars to sell except for these Cherokees. How can you sell them? People want automatics. They don't want to be paying petrol prices.
Those automatic petrol Cherokees were notoriously thirsty.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
Because they're American cars.
Yeah, they were horrendous. So I started researching LPGs, and I found I could get the LPG kit. It could be converted for 1,700 quid. So I persuaded. Well, it was quite funny actually, because I just went there. I had been sales manager. I'd had enough of everything. I just wanted to be able to go home at night and do what I wanted to do, rather than worry about everything and scheme and plan how we could sell our allocation. I just wanted to look after myself. So I took a step back, a step down, went as a salesman to this really good place. And I went to the sales manager with this idea, and of course he went to the big boss. It was his idea now. It was his idea. Yeah. So and then he came back to me and said, "Right, arrange it, get it done." So we got this done, and then we got about 8. So we got 1 done. Yeah. We put an advert in, LPG conversion and so on, and I think, crikey, I'm just trying to remember how much LPG was then. It was about 20p a litre.
It was about 20p, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really cheap, and you had 4-litre power. Again, there was problems with LPG. It would only go like 75% as far as a petrol would, so it didn't convert, entirely. But it was still a lot more
significantly cheaper to run. Yeah.
So we put 1 advert in, and then sold basically all of them, and then got them converted. And within a few weeks, the whole group, we were all doing it. That was it. And we went from having a glut of 4-litre Cherokees to ringing your customers up and saying, "Oh, do you fancy a new car? I'll give you good money for your 4-litre Cherokee." So by solving that problem on used, being stuck and constipated with flipping 4 litres, we then had an excuse to sell, because we could sell them a new car or give them more. Whereas before somebody come, you didn't want it. Yeah. So that's it. You've got to find a solution. Getting onto these boys. I really, really am not an EV hater. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We're struggling for the cars it's really hard at the moment trying to find good used stock. Yeah. There's any amount of EVs I can go and buy, any amount. Yeah. As many as I want. There's a lady, an EV expert, let's put it that way, saying they're giving overbook. Everything's going for overbook. Well, it's not. No. That's just not true.
Which is where you have a feeling that the book value on these cars is being manipulated as well.
Absolutely.
Because people are basically saying that EVs are going for overbook. No, that's the right way around, isn't it? EVs are selling for over the book value, and petrol and diesel are selling for under the book value.
What's happened now is EVs have come up a little bit. ICE cars have come down. ICE, we're paying $2,000 over for Range Rovers at the moment. It's not just us. Yeah. We're missing out on them, But yesterday, for instance, we bid on an I-Pace. it was 1,400 quid behind, but needed tyres and discs, of course.
Yeah.
So we'd allowed for that. But they're not going for over cap. It's just not true. I can show you when we get back. I can show you BCA. Buy it now. Now these are all traders and British car auctions. Buy it now is not going to be behind cap if they're going for over cap, are they? No. BCA aren't stupid, no. And the dealer's not stupid. So, but that's what's happening. There's loads behind. You go on CarWow and what people are asking, and these are going to the trade. EVs going to the trade. What people are asking and what dealers are bidding, and then they put the cap price. Now, usually the private's asking more. Then you've got cap price. Then you've got what the deal, and it just bears no significance to cap, and all these shills again. I don't know what to call them really. I don't know what a good word for them is, because
we need a better word for them, because it's not shills, because not all of them are paid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Some people are just absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, there are some cultists,
cult members and cult preachers. Some of them are paid. We know some of them are paid.
But some of the private people, they're like worshippers. They really are. I've never seen anything like it before.
People really tie their identity up with their EV, don't they? It's quite
absolutely,
odd.
yeah.
It's quite odd.
And I wouldn't mind. We've probably only scratched the surface. Really.
I know this is the thing. I'm finding it hard to get everything across that we want to get across, because it's a long conversation.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing on my notes is, after we've done LPG converted Jeeps, is why isn't the industry standing up for itself? Because where I think I get to with it is, if we've got all these EVs coming into the market, new ones every year that are not selling, right? What will happen is dealers will go bust because they've got stock sitting around that isn't selling.
Yeah, I don't know. I know a couple of garages are finding it hard, but what I've heard recently is you can buy used pre-registered EVs off the manufacturers at knockdown prices, and they are making money on that. We've had 2 I-Paces in the last few weeks, and they've flown out. But they're so cheap, they're a no-brainer.
Yeah,
they're absolutely. You know, if it suits your needs, it's a no-brainer. It's fantastic. If you can charge from home, it's a no-brainer. It's like 200 miles to the gallon or equivalent.
And this comes on to my next question, which is, are there any EVs that are a good buy? And for some people, there will be, because they're that cheap.
Honestly, there's loads that are, if it suits your needs, if you can charge from home, it's fantastic. But now, because they are a no-brainer, I mean, you're not going to get it all your own way. Don't forget, there's 5% EVs, if that, on AutoTrader. 95% of the others are ICE vehicles. If you think that the people who are selling ICE vehicles are just going to sit back and go, oh, well, EVs are a no-brainer, and this happened at the end of last year, as we were talking about before, there was a realignment then. EVs had dropped so much. What should have happened, and this, if EVs were to be sold properly, features and benefits to people who wanted them, no buyer's remorse, no lies about 100,000 miles and 40,000 tyres and be cheap to run and so on, unintended consequences, get a free holiday, all that.
Yeah.
Rubbish. If they were sold properly, then EVs should start to come up. That's what needs to happen, because ICE cars now are too cheap. They were too dear during COVID and so on, but they came down, they were coming down slowly. But what we needed was EVs to come up. What happened was ICE cars came down with a bump.
Yeah.
So lots of dealers last year, towards the end of the year, lost money quickly. All the profits that they'd banked earlier on, they lost money. Unless something's done about
the difficulty is, what we want to happen is let the market sort itself out, in which case EVs will bottom out, and then, as we said, people will realise they're good buys, and they'll come back up again. But the reason that can't happen is because they've got cars from 2022 sat on an airfield somewhere.
But again, if they hadn't tried all these fibs to get people, this wouldn't have happened. As we were talking about before, There was no, when I first started in the industry, there was no diesels. There was a diesel lorry. You could
Yeah.
get a lorry. No diesel cars. And then these diesel cars and they were awful. Honestly, they were awful but economical. They were noisy. The first Cavalier, I got a Cavalier diesel demonstrator.
Is that the 1.7?
1.6 it was.
1.6, yeah.
1.7 was 1.6.
Really agricultural.
Non-turbo.
Yeah.
And honestly, you set off, and you thought it wasn't going to, and you got a rev to like 4,000 revs or something to change into second then, because the revs died off so quickly.
Yeah.
They were awful. You go to fill it up, you'd be covered in diesel, because a lorry driver, there was one pump at the end,
Yeah.
and you'd be covered. Your shoes would stink, your hands would stink. It was awful.
People forget this.
Yeah, we sold them, and the reason we sold them was on economy, which they're selling EVs on. But EVs, diesels were inferior and harder to sell, and they became more popular than. But EVs are superior technology.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like the noise or the way they drive, but they are superior and they do the job. You see my Citroen Ami, that's perfect for me. So anything's perfect for me. I don't need anything. I don't need any gadgets. So that's perfect. If they can't sell EVs that are superior, then there's something wrong. We sold diesels that weren't, and they became, but we weren't targeted. They didn't tell us that at the end of the year, if you haven't sold all these, we're going to fine you €15,000 per vehicle.
Well, these fines are
we've got 3 months left. How many vehicles are they going to have to register before the end of this year? This is when the trouble.
We're going to run out of airfields.
Honestly, I'm scared to death. I really am scared to death, because last year we had brand new Porsche Taycans in auctions. You'd lose your agency if you did that with a Porsche a few years ago. You'd lose the agency.
Yeah, you would.
If you did with Vauxhalls. If you Mercedes-Benz, we used to have to drive past the customer's house to make sure they weren't an exporter, that they were who they said they were. So the Mercedes weren't. Now they'll sell it to anybody. Anybody who walks in with any money, that car's going with you. That's how.
I think they prefer the people that walk in without any money.
Oh well, yeah, true, yeah.
There's another conversation, but we won't do that today.
Yeah, but one thing I would like to say is, I think, or try to get back to, 3 to 5 year old EVs are up 138% sales according to the shills, the Parrot sites and so on. But when you actually look, and that's what I was trying to get onto before, I started looking at discs and tyres. Our friend with his 40,000 mile tyres, there was a car for sale, I think it'd done about 20,000 miles, and there was ply cords on the inside, and the owner had taken a photograph of this. So I mean, what's going through his head? Does he not think, oh crikey, me,
need to replace my tyres?
Ply cords.
Yeah.
I need to. No, he takes a photograph of it and advertises it for sale. But then I noticed a pattern with registrations and ownership. 3 to 5 year old cars are selling, changing hands very, very quickly. Some in months, and they're changing hands. It gets to 3 years old and somebody buys it, 2 months later they're selling it again. Now all this has happened this year since January. If you look at the ownership changes on EVs, I have never ever seen anything like it. Now again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I thought of this idea a while ago, and jokingly I put, if you want to give me like 20 million, I'll sort your EV problem out. And that was supporting used vehicles. Not if you're going to you've got to sell the new one. How do you sell the new one? You've got to get rid of the used one. You've got to make it attractive enough for somebody to get rid of his used one, so he's going to buy a new one. So instead of the €15,000 up front, they'd have been better off supporting used vehicles and making it and doing it that way. And as it goes down the line, as it trickles down the line, need less and less support. But it won't come to €15,000, and you're moving them. The new cars are selling, the used cars are selling, but these 3 to 5 years old, some of them have changed hands 3 times in 6 months. That's not right.
It's either problem car
yeah.
or problem owner, isn't it?
But the other thing is, it's privates advertising the cars go to the trade. So these privates are selling it on. Why don't they sell it on AutoTrader? AutoTrader love EVs. They love people. You know, they want to sell EVs. Why aren't they selling it on AutoTrader? Because they'd make more money. Because they only get trade or less than trade on the trade sites. So why are all these privates that have only had the cars a few months, who are going to lose money, why are they selling them on the trade sites? It don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps somebody can tell me. And the hate that talking about EVs generates, somebody will tell, and probably nastily.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you know, I'm just asking the question, which is what I try to do. Instead of stating the obvious, I try to make people use their own brain and, you know, do me pop quizzes of why do you think this? What's the answer to that? So they use their own brain, and I'm not telling them, so that, you know, the penny drops hopefully. And that guy I was talking to the other day, we educate them. You know, I honestly, nothing winds me up more than, because I know all about it. I'm an expert. I'm going to educate you.
Yeah.
So that winds me up. I mean, honestly, I really hope I don't come across as I don't know.
A bitter, angry old man.
Well, yeah.
Do you know what? I think, like,
I'm not.
We come at it from the same position, and it's because we love this industry, we love our cars, we love what we do, and we can see that this EV thing it puts our hobby, passion, life, employment, everything, it puts that at risk by the very nature of what they're trying to do with it. And that's where I come out with it. I don't hate EVs. If you want to have an EV, if they work for you, absolutely fine. But they've got to stop pushing them on everyone as a one-size-fits-all. They've got to stop misleading people.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start seeing some, were you misled on your Motability agreement? That's coming.
Definitely, yeah.
Because there's definitely people being forced into
Mis-sold.
EV on Motability. And as we get towards, you know, these deadlines, what's going to happen in dealerships? You're going to walk in and go, I'm here for a petrol car. Oh no, we're not selling them this month. You've missed that. Be like getting a GP appointment.
Yeah.
You know, if you need a GP appointment, you phone up, right? And if you're not there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you don't get one. That's what selling petrol and diesels will be like on the first day of the month.
What I forgot about is when all these whatever they are, these
EV enthusiasts.
Yes.
Yeah.
But who have websites and things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So when they're telling us that 12 months ago, don't be afraid of EVs, they wouldn't take any in.
Yeah.
You know, they would buy your car. No, they wouldn't buy an EV. Yeah. But don't you be afraid with your money.
Yeah.
You put your money in.
You go buy
you'll
one.
Be fine. Yeah.
But we're not.
Yeah. But we're not going to do it.
Why are you the only car dealer that seems to talk about this?
The trouble is, Geoff, honestly, these days people are frightened. I work for a dealership, and the guy who owned it was horrible.
Yeah.
He was absolutely horrible, and he came one day to visit the dealership, and he said, "Everything all right?" He didn't want an answer. "Everything all right with you?" And one of the guys said, "Well, actually, Mister, this," and he said to the general manager, "Get him clear his desk out. I want him gone by the end of the day."
Wow.
So that's it. Everybody's frightened to death. In the motor trade, if you go in the motor trade and you see somebody, usually they're frightened of the people underneath, honestly.
Yeah.
They're absolutely petrified that the person underneath is going to take your job. So the general manager, dealerships are run by basically accountants now. Everybody's scared to death. They've got a target. If they don't do the target, you know, if they've got family or anything, if they don't do the target, they're out. It's and all this business about employment laws, honestly, in the motor trade, they'll just make something up.
Yeah.
To fire you, they'll make it up. And there was some chap on Car Dealer a few months ago, and I read it and I laughed. In fact, I put something afterwards because I checked. He was one of the things they fired him for.
That's right. 3 down, 1 to go. 2 down, 1 to go.
One of the things they fired him for was having a funny colour car in stock, taking it in. And I looked in, they got about 6, 7 dealerships, and I looked in the others and they got the same colour.
They all had them.
Yeah. And he'd had it in stock too long. And of course, you go on AutoTrader with a certain app, you can see how cars, and if I'd been his solicitor, I'd have told them a new one, honestly. Yeah. And so they just made up, his face didn't fit, and they fired him. And that's, so everybody's frightened. They've got to do what they've got to do.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for them. Everybody's frightened to death. And the other thing, I mean, oh, crikey, honestly, I went to a Mercedes meeting years ago, and we were all in this big auditorium. Mercedes had done this promotion, and we were ringing. It was prospecting. We had to ring the customers up at night, trying to sell new cars, and you'd ring up, and they'd done it at the motor show. It was a free gift or something. They'd done it at the motor show, and you'd ring up, and could I speak to Geoffrey, please? Who is it? It's Barry at the Mercedes dealer. What do you want him for? Well, he's filled in an application about a new Mercedes. Well, he's upstairs doing his homework. You know,
that would have been me at the motor show.
So, honestly, but that was it. He's upstairs doing his homework, and I was sales manager then. So the lad came to me. You know, these leads are useless. You're just wasting our time. So I took them home, and I started ringing from home at night because I hadn't got any time during the day, and they were right. So we go to this meeting at Mercedes, and the guy who was speaking, Oliver, somebody, he's on Twitter now, and he came on. I've never seen anybody such a bad actor. You know, he came on and he was like, you know, we go to the trouble of giving you these prospects, and then when we do an audit, we find out that 80% of people haven't been contacted.
Yeah.
And he's like this, and he went, why? And I couldn't help myself. I said, because they're shit. and honestly, everybody then, I was sat next to my boss, and my boss went, be quiet. And everybody's like turning around and laughing. And somebody said behind me, said, what did he say? And I said, blessed are the cheesemakers. And that was, obviously, that's Life of Brian.
What was that? I don't know. I was too busy talking to Big Nose. I think it was blessed are the cheesemakers.
What's so special about the cheesemakers?
Well, obviously, it's not meant to be taken literally. It refers to any manufacturers of dairy products.
But that's it. They're absolute. The leads were just dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. That's the motor trade.
So, and I think
everybody's frightened to death.
Everybody's frightened. Everybody's just trying to do their job. And do you think there's an element of, from the motor trade's point of view, they've seen diesel and they didn't like it, and then it worked out, and then there was AdBlue and they didn't like it, and then they worked it out, and then hybrid.
AdBlue's not worked out.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But do you think they just got their head down thinking it'll work out?
Honestly, if they went back to basics, whatever happens, me and John, it was quiet a couple of weeks ago. You go back to basics. You make sure all your photographs are done, your descriptions are done, and and test drives,
and the car on the lot
bums on seats,
and the car on the lot is a good one.
Yeah, these demonstrators. You see demonstrator for sale, 10 mile. Well, it's not a demonstrator, is it? And you see very few demonstrators. As I was saying to you before, cars used to come in for service. We needed to sell diesels. You'd lend them a diesel car. Take that, Mister. Yeah. Take that, Geoff. You know. See what you think of it. And then they come back and think, yeah, you know what, it's not bad. But it's got to be their idea. It's not, I've come in to get a petrol. Oh, I'll just show you this EV.
Yeah.
You know, I want a diesel. I've got the perfect car for you. Oh, hang on, that's an EV. Yeah. But, you know, 12 months ago, the dealers were trying to sell new EVs, but they wouldn't take your EV in.
Yeah.
There's a local firm, and I'm good friends with the sales manager. They just used to say, God, till we buy any car, we can't take it in.
Yeah.
So.
Lots more to come on the EV thing.
You know, if that's the state where, how can you expect to sell a new one when you're not going to take the old one in?
Yeah. Seems like we've got a few more videos to make about
Well, I mean, I run off. I know I do. I love this job, and the problem is I don't want to retire. I'm 66. I don't want to retire. I come in every day. Me and John have a laugh. We have a laugh on. I mean, I have a laugh on Twitter.
You're good fun on Twitter. I've enjoyed following you for the last year or so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to retire, but it's going to get to a stage where, at the end of this year, if things don't change very, very quickly, there will be some catastrophic losses in the motor trade.
Yeah.
And then I will have to retire.
So we'll see what happens. Last bit then. This car.
Yes.
Discovery 4?
Yeah.
3?
Discovery 4.
Triple sunroof, beige interior, silver outside, nice wood trim. I love it. 16 grand you got this on for.
Thanks to EVs, this car would have been 36 last year.
Would it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But as I was saying before, if you can get a 69 plate I-Pace for 20 grand we just sold that for, with 36,000 miles on, then you've got to make your car not a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You've got to make it more attractive, and hence the pricing.
Yeah.
So.
I love it.
But yeah, it's fantastic. Honestly, do we get problems with Range Rovers, Land Rovers? Yeah, we do. Do we get as many problems as we do with BMWs? No. Do we get as many problems as we do with Audis? Audis, virtually everyone that comes in. Honestly, there'll be something wrong with it.
Yeah.
There'll be something. And I like Audis, BMWs. Crikey, the amount that the body control unit's gone on it, or we won't do 1 Series, the timing chains.
Yeah.
There's all those sorts of things. Land Rovers usually door locks. They're terrible for door locks. Honestly, virtually every one. First thing you check is the door lock. Cameras, the reversing cameras or the 360 cameras, they're terrible. And they're about 400 quid.
Yeah.
The waste of time. Nobody uses them. They buy them off you. And you check them, there's a camera missing, I want a new one. Never use them.
Yeah.
And the suspension, the air suspension, occasionally the pump goes, but it's not the pump that goes, it blocks up, there's a little filter on the end. If you just want to do something stupid, a quick repair, you can just drill a hole through the filter, an 8th hole. But 28 quid, you don't need the whole pump. People charge you for a whole pump. I've done a video on that. You just take the end off, and and it's right. We've had one catastrophic. Easy for me to say. We've had one catastrophic engine failure. Yeah. And then when we did a deep dive into it, first of all, he phoned me up on Friday night and said my coolant lights come on. Of course, Friday night, wants to get home. Worker carried on, fried the engine. Said he didn't, but these days with your diagnostic machine, you can see when the light came on. Yeah. With the first, so when you go and check it, so it wasn't that. There are problems, and I believe the problem are on the crankshaft, the soft metal bearings. On most of the bearings, there's a little tag which goes into a slot and stops the bearings turning around because there's a hole for the oil way, and for reasons best known unto themselves, there's no little tag on these. They're just so. Consequently, if the bearing turns round enough, then it blocks the oil way, and then if it's the front, the crank's turning at a different speed or dragging, and it snaps the crankshaft. Touch wood, we've had nothing like that. We've had nothing major, really. We've had a few niggling things. We've had a few air pumps. We've had a few airbags, but honestly, that kind of X6s, you buy them. There's a little light flickering on the dashboard, and it's a brake warning light. You think, oh, it's pads. Well, it's not. There's an ECU in the handbrake cable at the back, and it's outside in the elements. 1,100 quid. We've replaced 3 of those at 1,100 quid. Really? The sunroofs on X5s.
Oh, I know that they're terrible.
the bit that goes is 10p.
Yeah.
And you can, in America, you can actually buy a kit to replace it. So for the little bit that breaks, and it always breaks when it's open.
Oh, 100%.
It's a new cassette, new sunroof cassette, 1,100 quid. You've got to drop the headline in. If you've ever seen a headline in after mechanics have dropped it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're always this colour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and the amount that, I mean, we stopped buying them,
Yeah.
to be honest. We stopped buying them to sell. And then you've got the alloy wheels on X5s. They've all been welded.
Yeah.
Alloy wheels on Q7s, especially the 5-spoke.
Yeah.
You get in, it's like driving on threepenny bits.
Yeah.
With the roads these days, you know, it's just stupid ideas. Stupid ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know. Things have been invented that didn't need inventing.
Yeah. That's what I've been saying on
Yeah.
my YouTube channel for 3
Honestly.
years. We didn't need it.
Yeah. it just we're going backwards.
Yeah.
We're going backwards in the motor trade, making it harder for everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
So have you got any classic cars put away? Is there anything you've bought in your years in the motor trade?
do you know what? No. When I started in the motor trade, everybody told me I'd be dead by the time I was 30.
Right.
So I've never done anything like that. I've done it, owned it, and then as soon as I've got it out of my system, then
I
away.
think the problem is though, like once you've traded cars, you'll always trade cars.
Yeah.
Everything's always for sale.
Well, that's the trouble. And when you've been a car salesman, it's not just your cars that's for sale. It's watches.
Yeah, the lot.
It's anything.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I used to be like an amateur watch salesman. You'd buy a watch and somebody would come in and say, "Oh, that's a nice watch. Do you want to buy?" That's the way
It's
it was.
the thrill of the sell, isn't
But
it? Yeah.
in the old days, it was fantastic. We used to take speedboats in. I mean, we were paid for a guy who owned a laundrette. We were paid for a 2.5 grand Ford Granada in 10p's.
Yeah, brilliant.
Motorhomes, Krugerrands,
Yeah.
you know, just anything.
Because in those days,
you'd have a deal.
You'd have a word with the manager and you'd work out the numbers and you'd go, yeah, that can work.
Yeah.
But today, none of that happens.
No,
'cause
no,
it's
it's
just
just
money.
boring.
It's
Yeah.
just money, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just
I
money.
thought he was going to say just mundane. And
Well,
I
it
was gonna
probably-
say, yeah, it is.
No, but not at least on your side. You're still selling the older stuff that's still
Yeah.
interesting. But I mean, imagine sitting in a Ford dealership right now. You can't sell the Fiesta. The Focus is gone. There's no Mondeo.
No,
Which size EV do you want? The 5-door, the 5-door, or the 5-door?
I know.
Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Best-selling car in Europe right now is the Dacia Duster, and Ford have axed the Fiesta.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Nuts.
Well,
Conversation for another day, right?
that's the other thing. EVs, they're going on about EV sales going up 18%, and just the Ford Fiesta has outsold EVs.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. Whenever you see something in the motor trade in percentages, they don't want you to know
Yeah.
the truth. That's it.
I think the Ford Fiesta one for me is a big one because the Ford Fiesta has been the best-selling car for all of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Best-selling car in the country.
Or black cars have outsold EVs,
yeah,
you
totally.
know.
Yeah.
But EVs sales 18%. Well, no, they're not. Oh, crikey, last month, August, EV sales 18%. You've seen how many Fiats that were registered on the last day, or Abarths that were registered on the last day of August, and that's just Abarths.
Yeah.
All the rest haven't come out yet.
Yeah, and the other side of that is on EV sales. They were saying, I did the numbers for August, and they were saying petrol and diesel sales are down, and you do the numbers, and they are. They were down by, I think it was 5,000. So then you go, oh, well, EV must be up by 5,000 then, and EV wasn't. EV's up by 2,000. So 3,000 customers have gone and bought hybrids, which nobody talks about.
But the other thing is, if there was 100% before in the motor trade, it's now 110% because those are just floaters. They're not being sold.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, they're just there.
Yeah.
So they're not new cars. They're effectively selling used new EVs. But mortgaging the motor trade's future.
That's right. So if you have a large storage yard somewhere, then get in touch with us because we've some manufacturers that need to store some EVs for at least a year.
Absolutely, yeah, airfields.
Yeah.
And you just see them, but you'll see them coming out, and they all seem they don't even do it cleverly. You know, they could just mix them up. But when
They get dropped on in big
that's
batches,
that's
don't they?
And then they're all advertised on AutoTrader.
Yeah.
And they all come up and they're all over the place, and all the registration numbers are consecutive. And there's one up in Scotland, one in Ireland, one in Dorset, you know, and they're all the same. So there is a way. I'd say the only people that are making money out of EVs are AutoTrader and the people who make these green cloths, because everything you see on EVs. It's not actual car. It's something with a green cloth
Stock
over.
image with a green cloth on it. Yeah.
But the good thing with Dealer Portal is there is a way of finding out the registration, which is what I've done with those MGs.
Yeah.
And those MGs that have been advertised every day and sold supposedly, they're the same registration numbers. Because you saw that tweet. I predict tomorrow these cars will be advertised, and sure enough they were.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Brilliant. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. You can follow Barry on Twitter and on YouTube. And if you want to buy a lovely Land Rover, then get in touch with Barry. I'll put the link in the description.
ggcars.co.uk.
There you go. Check it out.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry if I've ranted.
No, I think it was good. I think the problem is people are going to watch this video and they'll watch all the way to the end, and then they'll have wanted more. Because we'll have to do that again, because I bet you got some stories from selling cars back in the day.
Goodness me.
But let's not start now, because we'll keep going again. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.